Oh, I'm not going to make a lot of friends with this one. Let's get going. Hey everybody, my name is Brandon. Welcome back to Cinefessions, where we talk all things media. And today I am diving back into the Paramount 4K pool with my review of Deep Impact. So about a month ago, Paramount released The Core on 4K, and oh boy did that disc have problems. First off, the movie, not that great, didn't really love it. And then the disc itself was just not that good. No special features at all. And the worst part was that visual quality wasn't that good. The audio I thought sounded fine, but the visuals, not the best. And so that was just a disappointing release overall. So the question now is, how did Paramount do with Deep Impact? Is this 25th anniversary edition any better than The Core? Is this movie any good? How did I like the film? We're going to talk about all of that today. And then of course, I'll let you know which 1998 disaster film is for me, Armageddon or Deep Impact, which I'll be honest, I totally forgot that these two released within 2 months of each other back in the summer of 98. And the fact that they are basically the same damn movie is just mind-blowing to me. So let's get into all this here. And I'll talk, of course, about the Blu-ray or the 4K release itself. So before we do all that, though, if you have a quick second, please hit that like button down below. That engagement really does help me out. But with that said, let's not waste any more time at all. Let's dive right into my 4K review of Deep Impact. Real quick, let me show you guys the packaging on this one. So you can see it does come with the slip cover. There's the front and the back there. We will take that off and you can see it has the same cover art on the front and pretty close to the back. Not exactly the same, but very similar on the back. And then if we open it up, unlike The Core, this actually has both a Blu-ray disc and a 4K disc. So what's cool about this is that the Blu-ray actually houses some special features, which of course The Core had none of. So that was great. And there is a digital code included in this. So overall, I think the packaging is totally fine. It's about exactly what you would want from something like this. All right, so let's talk about Deep Impact. And again, if you've seen Armageddon, you have a great idea what Deep Impact is. We are following, there's really like 4 different storylines going on here. 2 of them start off together at the beginning of the movie. We follow Tia Leone's character. She plays a reporter for MSNBC, and she stumbles across this news of an ELE, or an extinction level event. She first thinks it is just an affair, some type of sex scandal that's going on, but it turns out it's much more than that. And so she ends up meeting with the president, played by Morgan Freeman. And at the beginning, like I said, their stories are kind of combined because they have this meeting together trying to figure out when they're going to go public with this news and whatnot. And then from there, they splinter off. And so you have the story of the president with Morgan Freeman. You have the story of the news reporter with Tia Leone. And she has a story going on with like her mom and her dad. They've split up. Her dad's marrying someone else. There's something going on there. And then you have the story of these 2 16-year-old high school kids, one played by Elijah Wood, the other played by, I might butcher the name, Lily Sobieski, who of course I recognize from many other things as well. And they have a little romance going on there. The reason he's in this movie to begin with is because he is actually the person who discovered that this asteroid is coming to planet Earth. And then we have the 4th set of people, which is led by Robert Duvall's character, are the astronauts that are going to go try to stop this asteroid, which I realize now I haven't even told you what the movie's about. Essentially, an asteroid the size of New York City is heading to the Earth. And within a year, it will be there, and it will be, as I said, an Armageddon-like event, an extinction-level event. And so they're going to send up astronauts to try to destroy that to prevent the end of the world. So again, very similar to Armageddon. The only difference is that Armageddon was an asteroid the size of Texas, whereas this is the size of New York City, they say in the beginning of this. But otherwise, it's like so similar that it just blows my mind. So that's what we're dealing with Deep Impact. Interestingly enough, you actually see like all 4 storylines are put on the back of the box there, which I literally just noticed. But I'll start with that. And this is where I'm already going to start losing people, because I was just disappointed with the story of this film because of the fact that it's splintered into 4 real, like, different storylines. not a single one of them had a lot of development to them whatsoever, and therefore I just didn't really care about the characters. That said, of the four, the story of the astronauts is arguably the best, just because I did feel a little bit of emotion as the story was reaching its climax, and, you know, it's trying to choke back some tears even, right? Because given everything that was going on. And so I guess of the four stories, that was the most well done, but even that was just kind of silly. At the beginning, the younger astronauts are kind of at odds with Robert Duvall's character, who is this older astronaut, and they have this like you don't even know that really though until you get to this bar scene when he's seen drinking by himself, Robert Duvall's character, and then he walks up to the group of younger astronauts and says, "Hey, I know you don't like me, but how can we make this work?" And that's when one of the younger astronauts says, "Well, you're a publicity stunt," and blah, blah, blah. It's literally like a 60-second scene that is turned because Robert Duvall says something along the lines of, "This isn't a video game." And it's like, that's it. And then they start laughing, and the next scene happens, and they are presumably all friends now. Like, it is just so absurd the way that whole thing comes together. First off, I didn't even realize they were at odds with each other heading into that scene. And then when it leaves, it's like, literally, that's what gets you, is the fact that he says it's not a video game and it's real life. Like, that was just so absurd to me. But anyway, moving past that, Morgan Freeman's character, he delivers some really good speeches, but that's about it. We see him being sad and contemplating a lot of different things, but we don't really get to see him do anything. Very little action on his part. A lot of that is skipped. The story with Tia Leone's character, her parent, the situation with her parents, I found incredibly frustrating to watch. She is a grown woman, and her parents are both in their 60s. The dad is marrying this younger woman. She's only 2 years older than our main character's age, but still, like, she acts as if she has as if the dad has left them and is just like forgotten about her, which is not the case at all. That storyline was so frustrating to me because it felt like they just cut out a bunch of stuff with it, and we were left with kind of the skeleton of an idea that really didn't work for me whatsoever. It made our main character feel very selfish and immature, and so that was disappointing. Also, like, Tia Leone is a great actress. I know her from Fun with Dick and Jane. I think she's awesome in that. I love her in that. In this, she's supposed to be this character who ends up having this big story with this extinction level event, and then ends up taking on the role of the reporter, like, on TV on MSNBC. That's new for her. She is dreadful at her job. She is the most non-charismatic news reporter I have ever seen. Just so ridiculous to me how that played out. And then my least favorite of the four storylines has to be the romance between Elijah Wood and Lily Sobieski's characters. There is, again, it felt like so much of that relationship was just stripped away. And I did read that there was a lot more to that in like initial cuts of the film, but test screening audiences didn't like it, so they stripped a lot of it away. But boy, oh boy, this movie does not earn that emotional payoff that they're going for at the end of this, when you have these two characters that at the beginning feel like they are maybe high school crushes. That's about it. And then it's going to escalate just like to a 12 by the end of this. But the emotional payoff is not there because I just didn't buy into what was going on at all. I thought those characters were by far the weakest of the four stories. So I know that people are going to say you just have to shut your brain off and enjoy this action movie, and I get that, but at the same time, one, I'm approaching this with the intent to review it, so I can't just shut my brain off, and two, like, that doesn't excuse just the shallowness and how none of these relationships seem to matter whatsoever. And so because of that, I have to bring it up, and I just didn't enjoy the fact that this was splintered into four different storylines. This movie jumps around so much in time. We start off like 2 years before the asteroid is going to hit Earth, and then there's an event that happens at the beginning, and then we jump a year ahead, and that's when kind of the whole public finds out that there is this asteroid heading to Earth, and then we jump ahead another like 5 months. Like, it is just fast moving, much like The Core in that regard. But please don't get me wrong. Deep Impact is a much better movie than The Core. I had a good time with Deep Impact, where The Core, I didn't have as good a time with it. I will say Deep Impact did start feeling long at the end. It's only a 2-hour movie, but I don't think it was paced as well as it could have been. And again, a lot of that might have to do with the fact that the first 3/4 of this movie is really about the relationships and these different characters, but they're so shallow and weak that I just didn't care. When we finally get to the point where things like this happen on the cover, where we have these big giant waves, these Armageddon-like events start happening, then it was fun. I thought the special effects on this held up actually pretty well for a film from 1998, better than The Core, and it only had like a $15 million budget more than The Core, so I don't know what The Core's problem was, but anyway, like I think, when this thing does the fun, it does it really well. It just takes a long time to get there, and everything leading up to it just felt kind of meaningless to me. And so that's why I just felt like, man, this is kind of a slowly paced film. But again, once we got to those big action set pieces where I could just shut my brain off and enjoy the ridiculous CGI and practical effects. And I think that's another thing that this does better than The Core, is they use a lot of practical effects in this, which helps boost its kind of believability, I guess I'll say. And so I really enjoyed that aspect of it. So not a terrible movie, but I was hoping for something more here, I guess. And I think that's where Armageddon just does it better, is with the characters. We are spending a lot of time with our characters. Right from the opening sequence, we are on that oil rig with them. And then, of course, to that climactic moment at the end, which is the tearjerker moment, right? And I think it just does it so much better than what Deep Impact is able to do. So for my money, it's not even close. The 1998 disaster film of choice for me is Armageddon. That said, I guess I'll leave it there. I thought Deep Impact did some things well, but overall, it just didn't live up to what I was hoping that it would be. And again, can you shut your brain off and just enjoy the action elements of it? Sure, but even those take quite a while to appear. And so, I don't know. I didn't love this one, but I did like it more than The Core. So I'm going to give Deep Impact from 1998 3 out of 5 stars. With that said, let's jump over now to the AV side of this disc. So I'll start with the audio, because that is where we don't really get an upgrade here. This has a 5.1 Dolby True HD audio track. So unfortunately, no Dolby Atmos on this, which is a bit of a lost opportunity. Now that said, I do think what is here is good. It didn't rock my world as much as I was hoping it would. Frankly, I think The Core's audio track was a little bit punchier than what Deep Impact did, but still, I thought it was totally fine. I never lost any dialogue. The action set pieces I thought sounded as well as they needed to, but boy, this one really would have benefited from that Dolby Atmos track. So on the audio side, I don't have any real issues. It's just a matter of what could have been. So I will give the audio for Deep Impact 4. No, that's not right. I'm going to give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. On the visual side of this, not only do you have that HDR10 color grading, but you also have the Dolby Vision color grading, which is how I watch this, and so that's what I'll be talking about. Now, I thought the visuals on this looked really good. When you compare it to the last Paramount release I talked about, this is just night and day difference. The upgrade from Blu-ray is notable. You really see it like in the characters' faces. There was just so much detail there that I thought looked really good. It had a filmic look to it as well, so there was a little bit of film grain, but nothing major on this, but it didn't feel glossy, unlike The Core did. And so I thought this was a really good balance between leaving some of those elements of that film grain in there and not washing it away and giving it that waxy appeal. I thought they did a really nice job with that. I noticed a lot of that film grain, like when a big explosion would happen, you could kind of see some of the film grain in that orange pop, which again, with that Dolby Vision color grading, you're going to see that a little bit better. But I thought it looked really good. It just gave it a filmic look to it, which is exactly how it's supposed to be. And so this is one where, again, nothing really wowed me on it, but I was impressed by what I was looking at. I imagine this is the best that this movie is ever going to look. And because of that, if you're a fan of it and you're looking to upgrade from your old Blu-ray, I don't think you're going to go wrong with this one. I thought the visual side was really well done. So I'm going to give the visuals on Deep Impact 4 out of 5 stars. All right, so let's talk about the special features on this release here. And you can see there are a number of them. Unfortunately, I don't believe any of them are new. The only one that I'm not positive about is the commentary track. So there's a commentary track with the director, Mimi Leader, and the visual effects supervisor, Scott Farrer. I'm not sure how you say that. That one could be newer. It sounded like they were trying to remember back a little bit. I did not listen to the whole thing, so I won't give this section a score. But from what I listened to, it sounded like they were trying to remember back to the making of. Now, that said, it could have been something that was already on the Blu-ray release of it, which I will confirm that, and I'll put that right here because I don't know for sure right as filming. But on top of that, there were some other featurettes. There's preparing for the end, making an impact, and creating the perfect traffic jam, along with parting thoughts. This is very stereotypical behind the scenes making ofs that you would typically get in like the early 2000s on DVDs. There's nothing too deep here. It's all in full frame, which is another indicator that this has probably been around since the DVD release way back when. But these are fine. It just gives you a more of a glimpse behind the scenes at the making of the film. So while there was nothing revelatory here, and because I didn't love the movie that much, I didn't really eat up what they were talking about, but it's there. All in all, they were all around like between 5 and 10 to 12 minutes for the most part. So you're getting probably another around a half hour to 40 minutes of extra footage, to sink your teeth into if this is a movie that you love. And then finally, there is a couple like trailers on there for this film, the teaser trailer and the theatrical trailer. And then last but not least, a photo gallery, which is just completely useless at this point because they're very low res images of stills from the movie. It's not even behind the scenes shots. So frankly, that was a complete waste of time nowadays. But again, it's probably just ported over from the original DVD release. So like I said, there are some special features, but if you already own the Blu-ray, I don't think there's anything new here. So I'm happy to say that this 4K release from Paramount is significantly better than the last one I reviewed from them. Not only is the AV side better, but there's some special features on here. Even though they are ported over, it's still good to have it all in one place. And so kudos to Paramount on this one, which is, I would say, a hit in terms of it being hit or miss, unlike the core, which was definitely a miss. So while this one is not for me, I love big dumb action movies, but this took too long to get to the big dumb action. And so I didn't love this like a lot of people do, but I do respect, why people like this one so much. I will take Armageddon over Deep Impact any day of the week, but I'm a Michael Bay mark, so, please don't hate me for that. Hopefully you guys, love Deep Impact, and that's probably why you're considering picking it up. And if you do, this is a good release. The audio and visual quality is a step up the audio quality is the same as the Blu-ray, but the visual quality is definitely a step up from what was released before. And if you have that Dolby Vision TV, you'll definitely take advantage of that. I thought this one looked really good. So for my money, I think this is a worthwhile purchase, especially it's only around the $20 mark. So I am going to give Deep Impact, the Paramount release on 4K, 3.5 out of 5 stars. All right, so I want to hear from you guys down below why I'm wrong, because I'm sure the majority of you watching this video already love Deep Impact, and you're just curious if the upgrade was worth it or not, which, again, it is. I think this is definitely a solid release from Paramount if this is a movie that you love. If you've not seen it before, maybe try streaming it first just to make sure you like it, because you might fall down in the movie like I did where you don't love it, but, keep that in mind. But anyway, let me know what your thoughts are on this, and let me know if you're picking it up or not. I would love to hear that down in the comments below, or anything else. I always appreciate any and all comments, so thank you guys so much for all of that. But as always, guys, if you enjoyed this one, please hit that like button down below. That engagement really does help me out. And like I always say, I don't just talk movies, I talk all things media: books, movies, video games, graphic novels, manga. If it's media related, I'm interested in it, and if you are too, you might consider subscribing. Alright guys, so that's going to do it for today. I just want to say thank you all so much for watching, and I want to encourage you to consume some media today. I'll catch you next time.